Sorry about that. It's probably paused the video as well. We'll give it another go there. I want to demonstrate cutting that sausage. I guess I can probably do it on the rear-wheel drive video. I guess would be smarter, but let's give it a go. Okay, so what are we aiming for here? Anything in the 127s. I need to beat my car record by approximately half a second. We'll get our braking point here as well if we can. And this time we'll try not to overcook this corner. There we go. Much tighter, and we've got to be a little careful on the exit to make sure we don't slide off. I like the fourth because it gives me this late change to third here. Again, it's all... I've still slipped. It's all trying to deal with the dynamics of the car. It's still slightly faster than the last one. So do we get this? Oh, and I hit the sausage there. Now you can get away with that in a stable car like the TT, but you will not survive that in many an hours. I'm going to try and cut this. Here we go. Now I've gone very, very far. I don't recall if I turned the track penalties on, to be honest, on this. I'm in the arcade mode, but you probably would have got a penalty for that in the daily race. Let's see what the final time is, whether it's worth worrying about here. I'm probably not going to get in the 27s, I guess, unless I can. I did do that corner poorly last time round, so let's see if I. Oh, I'll give it another. Oh, I've slid wide over the sausage. I was hoping to go inside that sausage as well, but you can see, you know, when you get used to the race timing, you're typically not aiming at the sausage. There we go. I missed it by 0.003 of a second. It's a bit of a shame that, but ain't that the life? If you're spend a bit of time on Gran Turismo, you will see some tragedies like that where you miss out. You know, maybe on a diamond time. There we go. I'm just going to cut in there on the diamond time Lewis Hamilton challenge by a few thousandths of a second. There we go, 1:28.003. See if you can beat that time, and if you can, post it for me on the comments. Now what I'm going to do is just jump out and change cars to a rear-wheel drive to point out a couple of minor differences when you don't have such a stable and front-wheel drive car as the Audi TT. So we'll change cars. I don't have a lot of cars, as you see on my new profile, but I have got the Beetle. You'll see I've applied a livery there. I recommend, just for fun, you get on the Discovery section, look up the liveries of the car, and apply something that's kind of cool rather than the default settings. Check that I've got the balance of power on for the circuit. I'm glad I checked. We'll stick with the Racing Hard. Again, that's what they have in the daily races typically, which sucks. I'd much rather that they had the mediums or something like that. I think they probably typically go for that, but couldn't tell you. Now, in the Beetle, I cannot recall the what's a good lap time, but let's have a look. The Beetle, I typically run it on a slightly forward brake bias. We'll deal with the brake bias in one of the subsequent videos. Okay, so we've moved up to a Group 3 car here. You'll see it's massively faster. Now let's see some of the differences. Mostly it's about stability. So we're coming in here, we'll pick up probably the same braking point. Yep, roughly the same. We'll still pick up that inside edge, and we've got to be careful on the acceleration coming out here. This one here, you've got to be a little careful not to lose stability on this left-hand side right here. If you hit that under power, you can slide off. Luckily, the Beetle's quite stable, but a lot of cars, like maybe the NSX, you're a goner. You will see much the same line as I'm... Oh, I've braked a little... Oh, good on the brakes, this Volkswagen. Okay, here we go. I'll probably drop a gear coming in here, just for safety's sake. There we go, a little tap on the brakes as well, and then back up in the fourth, simply because I was a bit nervous going through there absolutely full speed. I've braked early again, because I'm not sure with the hard tyres. Medium accelerator there, because you really got to watch the rear wheel drive, sorry. You see the little back off I talked about on the accelerator through there? So have another look at that in the slow motion. You'll see you can't just apply full throttle coming through the rainy corner there. I might have overshot that. I did. I'll use the green. And let's see what time we get. It's not the best because I slipped on a couple of those corners. 123. Pretty sure I could take a second off that. But I'm going to leave it at that. That's the rear-wheel drives. Okay, sorry, I need to mention a couple of things here. We'll come around and show the major point of difference between the rear-wheel drives and the front-wheel drives on Laguna Seca, and that is the fast left coming onto the straight, onto the Raha straight. We'll just come around here. All of this is much the same. Your braking points, your turning points. In most cars, you can use the ripple strips. Some of them are so flighty you can't. Now, on a lot of rear-wheel drive cars at this point, if you slide even a millimeter too far to the right and just nick this red and white strip, on a lot of the rear-wheel drive cars, game over. You will slide off into the grass. So on the Beetle, it seems to hang on okay, but on the Group 2s and some of the more twitchy Group 3 cars, you'll find yourself in all sorts of trouble. So make sure you give yourself a little bit of room to stay just with your wheels just inside the red and white strip. Similarly, as you come up through here, on a lot of the rear-wheel drive cars, if you do, as I was with the Audi, and if you come over here and try and take this ripple strip, even just the minor little hit of it, you're gone. The back will just lose it and you'll lose everything. So on most of the rear-wheel drive cars, and on many cars, even if it's stable, it's often a little more secure to just stay here on the track rather than using the red and white. I'm not quite convinced when you go to turn in anyway, if your suspension is still bouncing, it doesn't necessarily help the turn in. One more thing, since this is the advanced guide and we're going to do this like as good as it gets here. One little technique is you can use the suspension of the car. You can kind of preload it. So when you're coming up here, instead of being on the far right hand side of the track, be just slightly in a little bit, like about a meter, and as you're approaching your turn-in point, drift out to the right and then turn in, and now you back off and brake. And what you've done is you've preloaded the suspension on the right hand side of the car, so as you lift off the accelerator, it pushes in and you'll get that little bit of extra time. So those two things you can do with a rear-wheel drive car on this track. You don't really need them on the front-wheel drive, although the preloading of the suspension is somewhat useful. Again, same braking point, use the black if you need to, slip across here. One of the main things on the rear-wheel drive cars, and particularly the highly powered cars, is about this point, you really cannot put any accelerator. If you put any, you're just gonna, I'll give it a bit, let's see what happens. Of course it has, oh, I'm in the Beetle, so it's typically quite stable. It is slippery as hell, the corkscrew. Now wants to give it all over the place. What I'm trying to say is, coming through here, if you apply any throttle at all, you really want it to be minimal, and you really need to wait till here, around about this point, before you give it too much throttle. Similarly, when you're coming on the rainy corner here, you can apply maybe 20-30% throttle, but you go back and have a look on the last one. If you give it any more than like about 30-40%, what you're going to find is you'll find yourself slipping off here into the gravel, losing a lot of time. So that's the main differences between the front wheel drive and the rear wheel drive. I've now got dirty tires. Let's see if I can beat my 123.6. Clean off my tires there. Try not to slide too much into this corner. And there you go. I just backed off there because it was going to step out. So not going to help my lap time, but let's give it a shot. Well, at the moment I'm 0.9 of a second, or 0.8, so I should bank that. That's, as far as I'm concerned, that's good enough. All I need to do is finish the rest of this lap roughly the same. I can't remember, I think I took inside the sausage on that one, but I'm going to go back there. Now that's what happens if you hit it. Now look at the time loss there, coming down 5, oh my god. Usually you get launched sky high into the gravel on the right side. Just lucky that the Beetle is a stable enough car to have dealt with that. just using the brakes, the gears for braking there. Go early on that so I can, oh, just thought I was going to clean that one up, but I missed it. I'll use the 300 meter mark as a braking point there simply because I seem to be coming, look at that time, came in too fast on the previous lap. There's a 122.8. That's a slight improvement. Now the point about this too, we'll get into a sports mode video later on how to prepare for sports mode, but you can see what I'm doing. I'm working my way down on that lap time from a 123 into 122nd. The more familiar I get with the track and the car, this is what you want to do in the race, in the daily races, is get in on the qualifying time trials and just run and run and run till you've found every little part of the track that you can push the limits, where to do the gear changes, where to do the braking points, where to do the turn-ins, whether you want to take this corner, for example, whether you want to leave it up. I'll try it this time. I'll leave it in the 4th gear, little tap on the brakes, and there we go, no problem at all. Oh, use the strip, but look at the unbalance. See the risk? It was faster, but I nearly lost it. So push all the limits, try the different techniques, and get your qualifying time as fast as you possibly can before you go into the daily races. So that's Laguna Seca. That's the advanced track guide. We're going to cut the sausage just because we can. And good luck, guys. Let me know what you think. We will do more advanced track guides on as many tracks as we can. But for now, this wraps it up for Laguna Seca. Bye, guys.